All right, let's talk about a way to share your faith that's, well, less terrifying and a lot more about real friendship. We're going to dig into the ideas of Jim Petersen, who came up with this amazing relational way to help people discover the Bible for themselves.
Okay, let me ask you something. When you hear the word evangelism, do you kind of clench up a little bit? Yeah? For so many of us, it brings up this image of having to be a super theologian, ready to debate anyone and have a perfect answer for every single question. If that sounds familiar, trust me, you are not alone.
And this is exactly why we get nervous. The picture in our heads is usually something really confrontational, right? Like you're trying to win a cosmic argument, or you're a salesperson with a quota. It just feels awkward and, well, stressful. But what if that whole picture is just plain wrong? Well, there is another way, and it starts with this really powerful idea that Jim Petersen calls affirmation evangelism. So what is it? Put simply, it's the idea that your life, how you actually live day to day, is the opening argument. It's the living proof that makes your words believable when and if the time comes to share them. So, how does this actually change things? Well, it completely reframes the goal. We're shifting from thinking about evangelism as a one-time presentation you have to nail, to seeing it as a long-term, relational process, a journey you take with somebody. And I love this image because it shows exactly what that journey looks like. Petersen uses this farming analogy, and it's just brilliant. Think about it. Phase 1 is cultivation. You're not jumping in with arguments, you're just preparing the soil. You're building a real friendship, earning trust. Then comes phase 2, sowing. This is where you start to gently explore truth together. And only then, after all that patient work, might you get to the harvest, inviting someone to make a decision. See the difference? The goal isn't a quick conversion. It's patient, thoughtful cultivation. Okay, this brings us to a really crucial shift, and it has to do with your role in all of this. And I'm guessing it's probably not what you think it is. This is about a whole new posture in these kinds of conversations. And this chart just lays it out so clearly. You're not the lecturer at the front of the room who has to have all the answers and defend the Bible like it's a fortress. No way. You're a guide walking alongside a friend on an adventure of discovery. So instead of having all the answers, you ask good questions. Instead of trying to win arguments, you're just trying to understand. You're not creating pressure, you're creating a safe space to be curious. So here's the bottom line, and it is so freeing. You can just relax. Your job is not to be the Bible's bodyguard. Your job is simply to be a good friend who creates a comfortable, non-threatening space to open the book and let it speak for itself. That's it. You don't have to be a theologian. You just have to be a friend. Okay, so let's get super practical. How do you actually guide someone through a book like, say, the Gospel of John, without it turning into a lecture? The secret is in having a really simple but relentless focus. The entire Bible study, the whole journey, revolves around this one foundational question. Every story you read, every miracle, every conversation, you always bring it back to this. It keeps the spotlight right where it belongs, on Jesus. Because really, that's the main question a non-Christian is trying to figure out anyway. And then, naturally, the second question flows right out of the first one. This is what makes it personal. It takes it from just being interesting information about a historical figure and makes it about, well, me. It's the ultimate so what question. The genius of these two questions is just how powerful their simplicity is. They act like a filter. They cut through all the other noise and potential rabbit trails, debates about history or science or church politics. By always coming back to who is Jesus and what does he want of me, you keep the main thing the main thing. But let's be real for a second. It's almost never a straight line, is it? What happens when your friend throws you a total curveball, a really tough off-topic question that you have absolutely no idea how to answer? What about suffering? Or what about other religions? It can feel like a pop quiz you didn't study for, designed to derail the whole thing. So Petersen gives us the simple but honestly brilliant technique to handle any question that comes up. It's called the write it down method. So first, you just acknowledge the question. You say something like, wow, that's a really important question. That immediately shows you're listening. Second, you defer it respectfully. You know what? Let me write that down so we absolutely don't forget to come back to it. Third, and this part is key, you actually write it down on a piece of paper right there in front of them. That's a huge nonverbal cue that you're taking them seriously. And then finally, you just gently refocus the conversation back to the Bible text and those two core questions. This is why this method is pure genius. It does two amazing things at once. First,
It completely de-escalates any potential argument. You're not dodging the question, you're just putting it in a parking lot for later. And second, it builds so much trust. You're communicating, your hardest questions are welcome here. I'm not afraid of them. It turns a potential roadblock into a bridge, and it keeps things on track without you ever feeling like you have to be controlling.
All right, let's talk about the foundation for all of this. The one mindset that really takes all the pressure off your shoulders. Petersen calls it the division of labor, and honestly, it's so liberating. Just look at this breakdown. It makes everyone's job so clear. Your role, to love the person, ask good questions, and create that safe space. The Bible's role, to reveal truth about Jesus. And the Holy Spirit's role, to do the heavy lifting of conviction. Now notice what's not on your job description. Convincing, convicting, or converting. That's not your department. And this quote from Jim Petersen just says it all, doesn't it? It is such a massive relief to realize that the ultimate outcome doesn't actually depend on you having the perfect words or the cleverest arguments. You're responsible for the invitation to the conversation, not for the results. So if you take anything away from this, let it be this. You have a practical, doable method that takes the fear out of sharing your faith. It's a process built on friendship, genuine curiosity, and trusting that you're not in this alone. So I'll just leave you with this one last thought to chew on. What if the most powerful, most convincing proof of your faith wasn't in how well you could talk, but in how well you could listen? This whole approach turns evangelism from a monologue into a dialogue. And in a world where everyone is shouting, a quiet, respectful conversation where someone feels truly heard, that might just be the most attractive and revolutionary thing of all.